What's up? What's up? What's up? Hi, it's me again, LaShawn Bridges. Thank you for watching my YouTube channel. As each week, I discuss with you guys politics and the uprunning Democratic presidential candidates for year 2020. All right, I know you guys watched the debates that was held Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on CNN. And I bet you guys were pumped up as you guys watched the presidential Democratic candidates as I was. And so we're going to talk about it, okay? Since Elizabeth Warren has one of the front runners, she's one of the front runners, and she was targeted by many of the candidates, okay? But, in my opinion, she remained strong in her answers. And Warren was attacked, of course, by a lot of her candidates on her Medicare for All plan. But opponents like Pete Buttigieg wanted her to be specific on how her plan would be paid for, So, and he wanted to answer, like the rest of us wanted to answer, okay? But I feel that both of the Democratic presidential candidates, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, were strong in their answers throughout the whole debate about their plans for Medicare for All, especially. So they did really good in answering those questions about that. Klobuchar, she went after Warren, telling her that, just because she has different ideas doesn't mean she's fighting for regular people. So, the question of do tech companies like Facebook, Amazon, and Google need to be broken up was also a concern in the debates. And Elizabeth Warren's response was that she believed that these businesses definitely need to be broken up. And I'm sure a lot of people did not agree with her on that. But that was her, what she stood by. Now, another question and concern on the debates was, what is the proper level of oversight for big tech companies? That was brought up in the debates. And Beto O'Rourke, he sort of was attacked, in my opinion, or criticized by Warren's plan of breaking up the tech companies, okay? He said that we will be unafraid to break up big businesses if we have to do that. But I don't think it is the role of a president or a candidate for the presidency to specifically call out which companies will be broken up. Okay, that was his opinion on that. And then he explains that something that Trump has done. Okay, so that was a very strong point that he, addressed. Okay, so that was good. I feel that Beto O'Rourke really had a good night in the Tuesday night's debates. He also remained so strong in his answers. So he did really good. Moving forward, the question about tech companies and should the breaking up big tech companies make the spread of information worse was also a question and concern in the debates. And I especially like Kamala Harris' opinion of how she would make these tech companies be held accountable. Okay, she then comes after Warren and stated how she was surprised that Elizabeth Warren didn't agree with her, especially on that Twitter should be held accountable. And that Twitter account, which is, what we all know Trump loves to use, should be shut down, So I felt like that was a very good point that Kamala Harris, came after Warren about. And she wanted to know, hey, you're not with me on this? So that was good. Elizabeth Warren then comes back at Kamala Harris and said, we need campaign finance, and I'm not going to take money from big tech companies. So we should ask if people are taking money from these big tech companies to fund their own campaign. I feel that was a really good statement that Warren, came back and addressed to Kamala Harris as well. So that was a good comeback. Very good. So, the question about also, what is your plan if the state prevails to stricken abortion? What is this plan to stop them? Okay. And I think that was a good statement because, question asked during the debates, because there's been a lot of concerns about abortion. I mean, I see people outside, over in the area where I live in Georgia, and they're marching about abortion all the time. And, some people agree with abortion. Some people don't agree with abortion. So this was a very good topic to address in the debates. And I liked when Kamala Harris's answer, when she talked about how it should not, give a person the right to tell her what to do with her body, and that it's her decision. I agree. There's some women that may not want to, have laws put in place to be put in jail behind getting abortion because they decided to get abortion. They don't know these women's circumstances of why they got abortion. They might have gotten abortion because of being abused, physically, or probably being raped, for example, or probably got abortion because they was child molested or something, So I feel like that it should be up to the woman's decision to decide on whether or not she should abort a child or not. She should not have to keep a child, in my opinion, after being raped, and have that burden carry her on throughout life, of this child that she now has to raise because she can't get an abortion. That's not fair on the woman. So I do believe that it should be the woman's, it should be their decision, Now, Booker stated that he would elevate to a White House level position and create an office of reproduction freedom. And Tulsi Gabbard's answer was that there are consequences of laws that can lead to a dangerous place. She would make sure that during the third trimester abortion, that is not an option. Okay, so that was a very good pointer for Tulsi to address on that. Very good job, Tulsi. Now, the question of will the visions of change offered by Warren and Sanders attract the kind of voters that Democrats need to beat Trump? That was a very good question to ask. And Biden stated that it's about who has the best ideas. And I agree. He said that, people need to not be so vague. And he didn't, address Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, stating that both of them, in his opinion, is being very vague. And I liked how he also explained how it would cost $30 trillion for their health care option. I thought that this was a very good pointer to address, because a lot of us are not thinking how much does this Medicare for all really going to cost, the people in the United States. Bernie then immediately pointed out that we spend twice as much than any other country on prescription drugs. And I agree. I mean, I'm on prescription drugs, and it is ridiculous on how much money that is being spent on prescription drugs. And we spend more money in America than any other country out there on prescription drugs. So these businesses are getting rich off of us with the healthcare and the prescription drugs and the whole nine. So I think that was, in my opinion, I feel that was a good point for Bernie to address on prescription drugs. But Biden also explained how we can do it all without Medicare for all, in his opinion. And he stated that the greed and profit of insurance companies are just as against his healthcare plan than Medicare for all. So that was his explanation of it. And, both Bernie and Biden, they had great points in my opinion. But I have to admit that having a discussion with my husband after the debates was over, we were both just wondering if Bernie's plan for Medicare for all, costing billions or trillions of dollars like they said it might cost, what would this mean for us as Americans? How would this plan affect us in the taxes of the working class citizens is what we were thinking. And we both felt that taxes would be extremely high on everything. My husband was mentioning that, maybe between gas and food and everything would go up. And I didn't think about that until we actually started discussing this after debates. And I realized that, Medicare for all may not be such a good option for people if the taxes are extremely high and it's costing American people a lot of money out of our pockets to pay to cover this Medicare for all. So that's something that we all need to think about as Americans. Do we really want to pay a lot of money, expenses, and taxes that is ridiculously high, to cover this Medicare for all plan? So that's a good point to think about. Because if you think about it, someone has to pay for the Medicare for all plan, and that someone is going to be us, the American people, So moving forward, the question about what is the right vision for a Democrat, to beat Trump? That was a very good question, I feel, that they had mentioned in the debates. And I feel that it was good to mention that. Elizabeth Warren discussed that it's about knowing what's broken and knowing what it takes to fix it. She then goes on to discuss her Medicare for all plan, but I liked how Pete Buttigieg stated that how he didn't agree with Warren and that he felt that Medicare for all should be for all who wants it. He then discussed how he would make college instead free. You know, he would have that option of people to have free tuition, but not Medicare for all. He didn't agree with that, you know, plan. So I did, you know, feel that Pete Buttigieg came strong in his opinions about that, you know, and he does have a point that it should be an option, you know, for whoever wants it. If you don't want it, you want to continue to stay with your private healthcare provider, you know, then you should be able to have the option of that, you know. So I do agree with, you know, Pete Buttigieg in a way, you know, of what he was saying. I have to admit, at first, you guys, I was all for the Medicare for all plan. I really was. From day one that Bernie Sanders first addressed this and that Elizabeth Warren actually addressed it as well, I was for them, you know. But I have to admit that I have to agree with Pete Buttigieg. I mean, we shouldn't make it, you know, just say that, okay, this is what it's going to be. You're going to have this Medicare for all and that's it. I mean, I feel like that the people should decide on, you know, depending on the cost of it all. We should look at that factor of how much it's going to, you know, cost us as Americans and have that option of whether or not if we want to even have Medicare for all plan. You know, if it's too costly, a lot of Americans may not want this plan to take place, you know. So that's, you know, a good pointers to address, you know. The question was about also what friendships have you had, you know, that would surprise us and what impact has it had on your beliefs? This was asked to a lot of the presidential Democratic candidates, okay? And I think, you know, they gave good answers on that because I enjoyed listening to Booker's statement when he said that I want, you know, to be the Senate with a goal of making friendships across the, you know, across the aisle, you know, circle. And he also stated how you cannot love your country unless you love your fellow men and women. And I do believe that that statement is very powerful. You know, I agree with that statement totally. Now, Tom Sawyer, you know, he's a candidate for Democratic presidential side, and he was very strong too, in my opinion, from beginning all the way to the end of the debates. And you know, he's a billionaire that's running for a Democratic presidential candidate, and his answers, you know, told it all. You know, he remained very strong throughout the whole debate. And his statement about friendships, he explained how his father was once prosecuted, and you know, I mean, he prosecuted, I'm sorry, someone who was a Nazi. I thought that was very interesting for him to make that statement because, you know, I was like, oh wow, I did not know this. And he said that he was taking on the biggest problems of America. To me, I felt like that was a good point to address, you know, and concern about how his friendships was and about his father. So that was good. But out of all the candidates, I feel the winner to me, in my opinion, was Warren and Pete Buttigieg. You know, I know some of you guys may disagree with me on that. You might think that some other candidate was. But those just, you know, my opinion. To me, I feel in the debates. But I also feel that Andrew Yang, you know, and the reason why, let me say this. The reason why I feel that Elizabeth Warren was strong, in my opinion, throughout the debates, because even though she was attacked, you know, in my opinion, you know, by a lot of questions, you know, she gave a lot of strong answers, and she didn't back down. I mean, no matter how many candidates, you know, Democratic presidential candidates came after her, she just remained strong in her answers, and she was just, you know, a pit bull, you know, throughout the whole debates from beginning to end. And, you know, I've been watching Elizabeth Warren throughout, you know, the campaigns and everything, and I feel like she's just been a very strong candidate, her and Bernie both. And no matter what questions were asked, they were just very strong in their answers. And, you know, in whether they feel that other people's, you know, didn't agree or not, they just told their answers, and that's what it was. So I do feel that Elizabeth Warren has been a strong candidate throughout the whole debates. And Pete Buttigieg, I feel, came very strong as well during the debates for Tuesday night. But I also feel that Andrew Yang came, you know, pretty strong. You know, I was glad to see him actually jump in there, especially when the discussions about the UBI plan and about his automation and about automation taking over and jobs, you know, not being there. And I did, you know, like how he addressed this. I liked how he discussed how we are in the fourth industrial revolution. And I also loved how he jumped in there when the question was concerning whether the big tech companies should be broken up. He commented on Warren's proposal to break up the big tech companies, explaining that this will not fix all the problems in the consumer tech space right now. And I agree. So I do believe that Andrew Yang, he will possibly remain a strong Democratic presidential candidate. I think that Tuesday night showed and proved to us that he does have what it takes. I feel that he still needs to work on, jumping there when he can a little bit more, like he did Tuesday night. And I feel like that if he continues to do that, then he will be great. He will be great on that. So we will see. I mean, I'm still rooting for Andrew Yang, and I know all you Andrew Yang gang fans out there. We're going to still hope that he becomes our president, right? Get Trump out the office. All right. Thank you guys for watching my YouTube video. Please continue to subscribe each week as I discuss with you guys politics and the uprunning Democratic presidential candidates for year 2020. Also, click like if you like this video, and comment at the end of the comment section. I review and read all comments. Thank you for all your comments, by the way. I enjoy reading them, and I try to respond as soon as possible. And so, see you next time. Deuces.